There's a couple of things. The president, I guess, was taking on Republicans this week and saying, no, wrong strategy. Don't say that, yes, quid pro quo happened, but it was justified. Mr. President, please. There is quid pro quo here. You were holding back, the $400 million. Now, you gave it before they did anything. Mm-hmm. So I guess technically you're right, but it is your right as the president to say that, just as it was Joe Biden's right to say, I'm not giving you the money if you continue to investigate. Only one of those is in the national interest, and it's not Joe Biden. Hey, Joe, what happened to our $7 billion? I don't know, and I told him to stop investigating. That's not, that's the wrong kind of quid pro quo.
But that's very much, as Mick Mulvaney said in that press conference, it happens all the time.
Yes.
We constantly hold back resources for outcomes that we want throughout the world. This is why we give foreign aid. It's not because we're nice. It is not because we're nice. It's not because we're friends with everyone. It's because we want specific outcomes around the world. Sometimes it's because we think it's good for our security. Sometimes our son need, drug money. Whatever the thing is, we're doing this stuff all the time.
If the United States was giving money to Russia, and we thought Russia had colluded with Donald Trump, would you have a problem with the government saying we cannot pay another dime to Russia in aid until we find out what happened during the election? Now, the only reason why you would say no to that is because you no longer believe in the system. Oh, who's going to ask that? Are the Democrats going to ask that? They're going to say they're going to put a stop to it. Well, we know that's just to add, coercion. They're just trying to beat them down into the ground so they'll get the facts that they want. That's not what the president was asking for. What the president was asking for was a very broad investigation.
Now, if you don't like the president, you might read into it that the only thing he cared about was getting Joe Biden hurt in the political race.
Right.
And you can guess about that, but you don't have that. And this is why I think the strategy is an interesting and potentially faulty one from the president, because I think he thinks, look, I'm not backing down. If you go to a really nice Trump hotel and you come out of that hotel and your friend sees you at the front and says, how was it? Was it a nice hotel? And you'd say, it's really, really nice. I mean, it's not the Mandarin Oriental, but I mean, it is one of the nicest hotels I've ever been in. That would piss Trump off to no end because you're saying something's better than his hotel. He would say, I mean, you go look at some of those properties back in the day, especially some of the ones in Atlantic City that had his name on it, were not even nice hotels, okay? That's not what they were. But his point, and he says this in The Art of the Deal, he said it was a very 80s sort of advertising tactic,
correct,
which was never give it up. Domino's Pizza is the best pizza in the world, period. Do not, what pizza, what's some small place in New York City? What are the original Ray's? What are you talking about? Domino's is the best pizza in America. That's why you should buy the pizza from us. And I think people, over time that's evolved, people have become skeptical of advertising and messaging. And people say the Domino's thing worked really well when they said, look, our pizza kind of sucked before. We've made it better. It's not expensive. You can feed your whole family. It's a good deal.
It used to work. Now it's a laugh line. Now it's kind of a quirk, at best. When he says, oh, no, my hotels are the best, most luxurious, the biggest bathrooms, the most luxurious towels, you laugh about it. I've stayed at Trump hotels. They are very good hotels, very good. But even if they are the best towels, I was just staying at a Trump hotel with my son recently. We went to the hotel, and my son came out of the shower and he had the towel wrapped around. And he said, "Dad, these are the most luxurious towels I've ever used." I mean, it's a joke.
Yeah, right.
It's a joke. It's an endearing joke.
Sure.
But when we're talking about this, when we're talking about high crimes and misdemeanors, play it straight, man.
Right.
Play it straight.
Well, and I think, he sees this as a retreat, right?
Yeah.
If you give up on this, like the quid pro quo thing, it's a retreat. But what I think it really is a lowering of the hurdle the Democrats have to clear.
I agree.
Remember, it's not Republicans that are going to make the decision as to whether this escalates into something bigger for the election and maybe conviction in the Senate, although unlikely. It's going to be the middle people that are not necessarily paying perfectly close attention,
and may not be Trump supporters, may not be Democratic supporters.
Right.
They're just like I don't really know. I don't follow it. And so it's going to be what taste is left in their mouth.
Right. And you're saying what this has been set up as is if they can prove it's a quid pro quo, then he's guilty and should be impeached. And if they can't, then he shouldn't. But it's like, it's obviously at some level a subjective thing. So you're looking at this and you're saying, well, I mean, okay, we have all these witnesses who are saying it was a quid pro quo. They were texting about it at the time. Some of these people are big-time donors to Donald Trump. They were not trying to get him thrown out of office by any means, but that was the understanding that they had. You have him on a transcript saying not a specific legalistic quid pro quo, but suggesting money and these investigations very close to each other. And the way the media is going to present this. With all that being said, is it the best defense to set up that very low hurdle? Because we all know quid pro quos do happen. It's just a matter of is this one in the American interest or not?
So here's the difference. Let me read this transcript two ways. First, I'll read it the way the president would want you to read it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll read it the way the press wants you to read it.
Sure.
Now, this doesn't matter how it's read. In a court of law, as long as these things happened and you have nothing else, you're fine. John Gotti's walking away because he said these things, unless you have something else. Mm-hmm. First, let me read it the way the press wants you to hear this. The president in the transcript, now this is an actual transcript from the questioning. The president in the transcript uses, some words hedging from time to time. On page 3 says, whatever you can do. He ends the first paragraph on page 3, if that's possible. At the top of page 4, if you could speak to him, that would be great. So, whatever you can do. Again, at the top of page 4, if you can look into it. It is reasonable, is it not, to conclude that those words of hedging for some, lead people to conclude that the president wasn't trying to be demanding here? Oh, I think people, they hear what they want to, as they already have preconceived notions. I'd also like to point your attention to whatever you can do. It's very important that you do it if that's possible. Yes, thank you. On the witness stand. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I rest at if it's possible. Okay, that's the way they want you to hear this. They want you to hear this as he's John Gotti, and all he is on the phone going, look, go ahead and put that money in the bank account. Only if it's good for you. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying.
If it's possible, whatever you can do.
It's possible. I mean, it would help me out. But, we all make our own decisions. So you do what you have to do.
By the way, did I bring up, I know where your child goes to kindergarten.
Right.
It's like, where there's never a quid pro quo. I'm going to kill your child if you don't put the money in the account. But these are they're qualifiers. They're legalistic qualifiers. You don't even have
to say that. All you have to say is, I hear your young daughter just had a birthday yesterday, and she's celebrating at school today. You gotta love our daughters, huh? That's all you have to say.
And it's not a threat. That's a nice thing about a daughter. What are you talking about?
So now you have to interpret that because you're in your movie head. Mm-hmm. So if you're in your movie head, you know exactly what that means. But if I called up Stu tomorrow and I said, hey, Stu, we got to get together tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I heard your daughter is having a birthday and they're celebrating at school. Man, don't you just love our daughters?
Like it wouldn't be a threat at all.
Totally fine.
Exactly.
Right. That's why this kind of stuff always thrown out. But this kind of stuff is not read like, wait a minute, The president in the transcript uses, some words that are hedging from time to time. On page 3, he says, whatever you can do. He ends paragraph 3 on, if that's possible. On the top of page 4, he says, if you could speak to him, that would be great. Quote, so whatever you can do. Again, at the top of page 4, if you can look into it. Isn't it reasonable to conclude that those words of hedging might, for some, lead people to the conclusion that the president was not trying to be demanding here?
Right. He's saying if it's possible, if you can do it, if the facts follow that line, I would love to see it if it's, what the truth is. That doesn't mean that you must do this for money.
So here's the thing. Donald Trump either really meant it that way, and we don't know for sure, but he really meant it that way, or he's John Gotti, and he was saying, so if there's something you can do, you know what I'm saying here? You got a lovely family, hate something that happened to your family, okay? But we don't know.
That's another point where we're in a legal proceeding. We're assuming his ill intent.
Exactly.
That's what the media is doing all the time.
All the time. So here's the thing, Mr. President, this is not a legal standard. This is the standard of what the press can make the majority of people in America believe. And it is too easy for those people who are just coasting along, not paying attention, to go, oh, well, I guess he did say that, and, well, they're saying that he's such a bad man. It was like a mob thing. No. Offense, Mr. President, not defense. Offense, offense, offense. Yeah, I did say that. Exactly the same thing that Joe Biden did. Except Joe Biden said, hey, that $7 billion that, of U.S. aid money, don't look into that. Oh, that corporation with my son, don't look into that. What I said was, yeah, look into that. We both said we're withholding money. He said withhold it to stop an investigation in the interest of American people. I said I'm withholding the money because I don't trust your country with any more of our money. Prove to me that you are a different kind of president. Investigate those things, and then we'll know we have a good partner. Amen, brother. That is an open and shut case to the American people if presented that way.